And welcome to another edition of Radio Friends again. And here it is, the first Friday in December. This is incredible. Already aired December 1st, 2023.
My anniversary, by the way.
Pardon me?
No. My anniversary, by the way.
And Angela's birthday. Of course.
Happy anniversary,
Wow.
Dio.
Congratulations.
Happy anniversary. Happy birthday.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, congrats to both.
Yeah. So
44 years in love with the same woman. And if
And if
Mary
my
Lou
wife
finds
finds
out,
out-
I'm dead.
Thank you. Henny Youngman. Good night, everybody. Okay. All right. And already you upset Ron Pell, and he left the room. He went right out. That's it. Got
We
that-
haven't said good morning, Steve, yet.
Okay, let's take it again. 3, 2, 1.
Good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning,
Morning,
Mr. Parker.
As you can tell by the sound of my friends, it's another edition of Radio Friends again.
I like the first opening better.
Okay, well, Dave, you're the one that does all the editing anyway.
I know I will.
We tried. Dave actually cleans it up. The program's about 3.5 hours long, and Dave tries to get it down to about 40 minutes. So that's about good. I'm Steve Parker, and here with us so far this morning, signing on, we got Pete Salant, we got Dick Calt, Bob Craig, Dave Overson. We've got Tracy Carmen's here. Ron Pell has come back to us. John Landry's here. Ted Dallagoo is here. Greg Simonson is here. TJ Lambert is coming into the room. Hi, TJ.
Hal
And
Whitney, did you say Hal, the judge?
where is he? Where did he go? I lost him.
He was here.
Oh, yeah,
there he is.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. I got him. I went right by there. Okay.
I think in the spirit of the holidays, TJ is away in a manger somewhere.
Oh,
Oh.
There you go.
oh my God. Oh my.
It started
That is what
already.
made you the star you are.
Right, obliterated
Original.
the black hole of stars.
Legends live on.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit before we got started, and Pete and I were
there we go.
talking about something that had gone wrong at his radio station with Pete. Let's just go back to that. What were you talking about? A promotion or a record promotion, or what was that?
I was doing 6 to 10 p.m. and every night we'd have a double play. So the PD would leave me a 45, a disc, a single to play back to back with the cart. And it would go WGNG, double play in between the two. Well, I decided to make it a triple play, a I kept going back and forth between the cart and the record. But the problem was I forgot to ask permission of the PD to do it. So
Beg for forgiveness.
yeah, you're right. But he called on the phone. He was like so stoned. He and his wife were experimenting with marijuana at the time. He was, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" And all of a sudden, the owner of the station comes running into the studio, throws me across the room, and says, "Pete, I'll take it from here. Get out of here. Go. Bye. What are you doing?" And I said, "Mr. Hisco, do you know how to run the board?" And he said, "Well, no." I said, "Well, okay, fine. I'll stop playing this same song over and over again. And I promise I'll be a good boy. Don't worry about me. You can go home now." And I got fired the next day anyway, but
Which Hisco was this, Dennis?
that was Dennis, yes. So I see you. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Well, you worked there too, Hal, didn't you?
For a very short time. Worst radio experience I've ever had.
Thankfully, I was there 9 months. So
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about before I sent this out this morning. I said, when so many people I've talked to about being part of promotions that maybe didn't go the way they were supposed to, or or hearing of other promotions, because every time we get to Thanksgiving, everybody talks about I swore the turkeys could fly and that whole thing from KRP, and how many people say, is radio really that crazy? And how many of us have gone back and go, oh no, it's much more insane than that.
Yeah, there's all sorts of promotions that go bad. I remember when McDonough was working up here at WMAS, they had a no repeat weekday, and Dick was a little off of his game by the time he was up here. I hate to say it that way. May he rest in peace. And he repeated the same song twice, which ended up costing the station $1,000. And the general manager at the time, Susan Murray, came in the room like a shrieking chicken, screaming at him, "I'm taking
remember her.
your paycheck." Just horrible.
Yeah, I
You
know.
know, half the people don't even know if you play the same record twice or whatever. I mean, I remember Jim English getting all over Bob Marks one time because he played a song from the B list as opposed to the A list. You guys had a format, if I recall, and
Yeah.
Jimmy went in and gave Bart the riot act, and so Jimmy came out of the studios. Bob is all shook up, and I said, "Gee, Jim," I says, "glad you said something to him." He says, "We get about 14 calls wanting to know why he played a song from the A list as opposed to the B list." You know, nobody knows. They don't know. I just
Today
yeah,
they
we
all
know on
sound the same.
inside.
They all sound the same today anyhow, so it doesn't make any
Yeah,
difference.
exactly.
Nobody
You
can
know,
tell
and
the difference.
people aren't even listening.
They
to
are
that.
the same, Bob. It's the same song.
By the way,
That's what I thought.
By the
You
way,
know, when I
guys.
go to the supermarket and they have the 17-year-old person attempting to sing, they all sound the same. You know, let alone the song, but the singers all sound exactly the same, especially the girl singers. Jesus, nothing.
How many
they
of you
all
got-
repeat the same style, and the same
Exactly.
is either 120 or 90.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
A friend of mine just moved from a radio station. A friend of mine just moved from a radio station. He's working that over in Oman in the Middle East to a different station in town. They have this spot online where they show walking out the door and walking to the door of the new studio. And I congratulated him on his move. He says, "Gee, I don't have to play Katy Perry or Taylor Swift anymore." I said, "Gee, the girls are going to be disappointed."
Now, where was that,
By the
Tracy?
way,
Oman in the Middle
Okay,
East.
I noticed how you just dropped in Oman in the Middle East, like somebody's done at least one stint there. Oh my God, what are you doing talking to them?
Oh, this is Neil Bowden, who I work with the jingle stuff. Neil's was over in the UK. He's a UK guy, and he comes over here. He helped me clean out Thompson Creative and a bunch of other stuff, but he's been over there for like 15 years now. And PD at one place, and like I said, he left the one group of stations there, went to another.
Apparently now you can't have a top 40 hit unless you've got 60 choreographed dancers behind you.
Yeah, and they're all half naked dancing on stage.
If the Beatles had to follow that rule, what it would have been like.
Hey,
Thank
Matt,
God we didn't see Yoko like that.
how many of you got to see Cher and Darlene Love the other night blow the top off the Rockefeller rooftop?
well, I saw that.
That was
Tell me,
amazing.
how much work has Cher? I can't say for Darlene. How much work do you think she may have had done? Excuse me.
Well, I'll tell you though something, Dick. I thought Dolly Parton summed it up beautifully one time.
Oh.
Somebody asked her if she had work done. She goes, "Honey, I'm a multi-million-dollar corporation. When that doctor puts me under, I say, if it's sagging, pull it up." Because these are people, when you think of the amount of people that they employ, you know, that count on them to keep moving forward. But their voices, oh my God. And the fact that Cher sang backup for her on Baby Please Come Home back in the early 60s. And here they are back together after 60 years again. If you haven't seen it, you got to go online. Those two women at what, 77?
Oh, they got to be 80.
Huh?
I mean, because in 63, if she wasn't 20,
Yep.
So let's say she was 18, then she'd be 78.
Yep. Cher, I think, is 77. Darlene, I think they said was 83. And they last were together when they were 60 years
How
ago.
old
And
is Dolly Parton?
I guess when Cher did this,
Dolly Parton is 77 years old.
when Cher,
Dolly Parton is 77, guys.
So, yeah.
oh, I know, we're
Thank you,
talking about
Alexa.
Cher.
Cher, try Cher. Go AI with Cher.
Alexa, how old is Cher?
Cher is 77 years old.
77,
They're all
guys.
77.
I'm telling you,
Seven sunset.
boy, oh boy, they
I
were.
want to get back to something. The no repeat music promise. We used to use that a lot on our soft rock AC, you know, at work type stations. And frankly, when a jock screwed up, and I certainly didn't encourage it, we had to pay out that grand. We just turned it into a big ass promo because nothing extends TSL more like somebody thinking, hey, they
Right.
can screw up. So we turned it into a promotion outside of the no repeat aspect.
Great.
Worked really well for us. You know, lemonade out of lemon, right?
Mhm.
Well, it's
that
the
wasn't the
perfect
philosophy.
skee ball thing. Somebody gets a good skee ball score, and then all of a sudden everybody's playing skee ball. It's the same thing. It's a pretty common reaction once you reward somebody for finding a mistake. Then everybody's looking for a mistake. It's a great promotional idea and it's very basic.
That happened to us with when we were doing CHR. I think it was in St. Louis. We you know, at the end of the year you print the top 100 or whatever it is, and we, in those days you could put it in the newspaper. They existed other than just, you know, bird cage liners, and we found typos that we thought we had, you know, gone over that list so many times with so many sets of eyes, but there were typos in it. So we again turned that into a promotion and said, find the typos, win $100 for each one. And you know, chicken salad again.
That's so clever.
Now, Dave, you had a great story. I know you've told more than once, and that's the one about DRC with the AM and the FM and the car giveaway.
Oh, God, yeah.
Put your hands on a Toyota.
Yeah, no, it was Hornets hatchback and Big D. You would the jocks would call out to a random number, or they got those from Joni, I think, the secretary. And anyways, if they answer the phone, Hornet hatchback Big D, you win the car. Well, we would put that on the log, and AM and FM were sharing the same log, and they would say 10 after the hour, run contest. So at 10 past the hour, both AM and the FM ran the contest. Well, McDonough's doing his show. Bill St. James, aka Billy Hart, is on the FM side. And all of a sudden, Billy rings the bell to notify me. He says, I got a winner. And I looked at him, and 2 minutes, less than 30 seconds later, McDonough gets a winner. And we're playing the whoa, you got a winner a whole bit. And Corson comes flying into the control room and goes, hey, we got a winner. And Charlie comes running in right after behind him. He says, yeah, we got a winner. Billy Hart got a winner. And I says, no, McDonough got a winner. No, Billy Hart got a winner. I says, they both got winners. Corson, the look on Corson's face was, you know, he didn't know whether to yell, scream, or shoot somebody. And I'm glad he didn't shoot anybody because I was the closest guy nearby. And at that point, then they changed it where AM ran it past the 10 past the hour, and FM ran the contest 20 minutes before the hour. So that was crazy. That was a crazy promotion. But who would have ever thought you would give away not only one car but two at the same time? And that was.
That's like up here that WHYN had the infamous find the numbers on the dollar bill promotion that they thought was going to last the whole book. You know, if you have these numbers and match these up on your dollar bill, you'll win. They thought the contest was going to last the whole book. And the first time out of the gate, somebody won it, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, well, Pete, I remember Pete Sullivan. We ran, I think it was a Prize Patrol or something, where we were giving away fur coats, diamond rings, you know, big extravagant prizes, plus a bunch of little prizes. So Charlie, your dad, Steve, called Pete up in the morning. He says, why don't we go away with the diamond ring? And he says, $1,000 diamond ring. And Steve goes, oh, okay, I'll do that. He goes in and they had a winner right away. And it blew half their budget, right from the first call. And I remember walking in to the studios that day and ran into your dad and your father. I just had that perplexed look, and I said, what's the matter? He says, we gave away a diamond ring. And I said, oh, good. He said, no, he says, that blew our budget. He says, who would ever thought on the first freaking call of a contest running, they win it. And he wasn't happy, put it that way.
I think Ron remembers a big promotion with a place called Cholesterol City.
So back in those days, that was the years of the yelling and screaming. Hi there, groovy guys, groovy girls, peace, love, love. There, hi there, ho there. And we were doing, I forgot what the promotion was, but I came up with this thing called Cholesterol City.
No, that was because I think that was, weren't you guys having something to eat? And he looked at it on the menu and
said, that's right, your father. We were out for dinner one night. Roughly and Blada came to town, and we had a good quarter. I don't know what. We all went out to dinner, and Charlie was with us. And we sit down to eat, and somebody orders the biggest, fattiest steak you've ever seen. And Charlie looks at me and says, that's Cholesterol City. And I said, Cholesterol City, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9 bedroom townhouse condominiums. And we just took it from there.
Ron Pell. want you to know, I actually have a recording of you doing
Doing
that.
cholesterol? Oh my God. Yeah, I did
Cholesterol
record
City.
it.
Yeah, I have
That
it
was
on one
great.
of my
Charlie said,
tapes.
Cholesterol City.
Yeah, I even put a little echo at the little delayed echo on there. Cholesterol City.
That was a long, boy, that
That was an
I
actual
mean, that was,
contest. That wasn't a contest promotion.
no, they just came up with it because
I
we were
thought
sitting there and
so.
Charlie just said, looking at the steak, this guy, whoever it was, maybe Buckley was about to eat, he said, that's Cholesterol City.
Yeah.
Just the way he said it, I just took off on that. But that
That was
was,
a
you know when
good-
that was? That was about 1975 or 76, long
Yeah.
time ago.
Well, had to be 76 because we did it at Blue Hills Avenue.
Yeah, we had moved on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it's funny. And then the other one was I don't remember who we worked on it with, but you could win a trip around the world. You could win a brand new Rolls Royce. You could win a 16-karat diamond ring on If We Offer It.
yeah.
We offer it, you could win it. No, that was absolutely.
Well, I remember one time we were doing a contest and it was some location type of contest where secret location or whatever. And Bill Hart gives the woman, says, where would you like, tell us where our secret location at Disney, where at Disney World is. And woman goes, oh, I don't know. And we all heard it and we looked at it. So she gave her the name. He gave away the location. And I think they had her win. Gave her as a winner, so they had to give that trip to somebody to the secret location.
What did the woman say?
She didn't know. He said, like, what color is who's buried in Grant's tomb? And he goes, oh, I don't know. I mean, she gave him the answer, and the location, I think, was Disney World. Tell us where a secret location to Disney World is, and
he gave away the answer.
Gave away the answer.
Yeah.
Oh,
I could see the look on Bill's face. He goes, and he just kept it going. And the woman didn't even
Not a clue.
did not have a clue. And he goes, I don't know. Is it Brazil or, whatever the answer was, but
The greatest ongoing promotion of all time from a standpoint of something that people look forward to still to this day is the Secret Sound.
Oh,
That was the Secret Sound was the greatest thing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how your father he'd come up with these sounds like, what the hell is that?
and it's funny because that came out of, from what I recall, it came out of a conversation that he was having one time, an interview or somebody, and somebody was asking about a secret or something about WDRC, and he said, well, it's not really a secret sound, and meaning, that the way the format was, and that was where he kind of took off on that. But my sister, he didn't trust me at all when it came to something like that. I'd spill my guts, and he was always said, well, if you kids were kidnapped and you knew it, and they wanted to torture you or something, you could possibly give away the answer, But he would come up with these great things, and Kathy would help him record a lot of this stuff. But it was funny, and I've said this before, when he was out of there, and he worked quietly for some other stations. I can remember, when he would send a note to Al Pellegrino with POP and Magic 104 and a suggestion, and he would just say, I'd say, this is from a friend of yours. He still, he just loved to, just help other people out. But when he was hired over to HCN and they wanted Secret Sound, he goes, I can't do that DRC contest. But we could do Name That Noise. And that was the same thing, It was, but it was all about rhyming clues. It was those brain teasers. And I think
I have one I want to see if Judge remembers this. This goes to when I first came to WAVZ in 1970. And I wonder if you remember when Bob Cousy came up to the radio station for a visit. And after he did his interview or whatever he was doing, and I don't know if it might have been with you, it might have been with Bill Beamish, I'm not sure. And I got together with him and I asked him if he would be interested in doing a promotion because I was so taken by his accent. No, that's not right. His Boston accent. Yeah. So we did WAVZ Mr. Whisper. And what we did is we had him whisper the promo. Can You Guess Who I Am? I am WAVZ's Mr. Whisper. And that was the first promotion that I had ever run in Connecticut because I just arrived there. But we ran that, I think, for about 3 or 4 weeks. And then we gave away a prize. He came back and gave away a prize. Do you have any memory of that, Judge?
Very vaguely, very vaguely.
Yeah. Well, it was the first one, but we did, if I may, I just, number one, I am so thrilled to see my buddy Greg Simonson here. And so between Steve and Greg and Ron, most of my Connecticut history is on this Zoom meeting. And I hope you are well, Greg. I haven't talked to you in a long time. But I wanted to mention one of the promotion we did has been running for 47 years and is still running. And it is the New Haven Road Race.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that started in 1977 when I was on the New Haven board, retail board. And I was the guy with the shirt and tie who was the drug addict as far as they were concerned, because I was from the rock station. But they wanted representation from our part of society, if you will. So we did, I attended the meetings, and one day I asked them, I said, why don't we do a marathon in New Haven? They're becoming very, very big. And they all looked at me and laughed and said, oh, sure. I'm sure that, oh, go ahead, go write up something on it. I'm sure we'd love to do it. Meaning, who is this idiot? So I went home and I wrote up a proposal for a marathon, and I came back, and I wish I could remember the names of the people from the mayor on down, but I can't. But I made the presentation, and they looked at me and they said, you know, this actually isn't bad. We didn't really think you'd come back with anything that we'd want to do. And but our director of traffic and parking, John Cavallero, I think his name was, said the city is too small. So, well, let's make it a half marathon with one loop, and I'll help you design the course. And I figured a win is a win. I'll take a half marathon over nothing. And they got behind it. And then I reached out to Bill Rogers, who at the time was running races, as you know. He was probably the biggest marathon runner in the world at that time.
He's from Newington. And when you come to Newington.
Yeah, well, I went through his brother Charlie, who I knew, and Charlie had a sporting goods store. Anyway, Bill couldn't have been more interested and satisfied, and so he signed up. And that was our first promotion. I actually processed all of the entries in my living room for the first 3 years. I became the president of the New Haven.
But Dick, it wasn't a half marathon. It wasn't really a half marathon.
No, it was a 20K. It was a 20K.
U.S. Track and Field National 20 kilometer championship. I only ran that
we
race
ultimately
14
got
times.
the 20K designation, but it was a 20K, not a half marathon.
It was a national, but it was national in scope because people would come. Because it was a championship, a national championship. People will come from all over the world.
Yeah, you ran it. And have you run it 30 years?
14 times. I ran it every year from, I don't know, 14 times over the years. Not 30. I know a guy who ran it for 38 straight years.
Yeah, I think our high, I think at one point we had about 8,000 or 9,000 runners. I remember one year when I think it was maybe 82 or 83, and I was the starter, and I said, if you're not an experienced runner, you cannot start because the temperature is too high. And please, do the
it's on Labor Day, by the way. If everybody knows, it's on Labor Day every year.
Yeah, Labor Day every year.
Very hot. Yeah, they cap it at 3,000 now.
The people in Marathon, the people in New Haven knew nothing about road racing because they would set up refreshment stands, but they would shoot the water at your feet as you went by because they thought that's what they were supposed to do.
Wrong thing to do.
Anyway, it is a legacy that I'm very proud of, but it turned into something very nice.
On the other hand, Dick, I was just remembering the time that you and I were in a ghetto in Miami trying to give away an Indy car.
Oh yeah, yes, indeed. We had but it was an IndyCar or a NASCAR because we did all those NASCAR promotions.
No, it was an Indy car from LCI, and they didn't kick it. It was horrible. Nobody wanted to win it because it came with a tax bill of about $400,000.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Gonna drive it.
But one of the other promotions that we kicked off WPLR with was with Bob Dark, And I don't,
Playboy.
Judge, you may
Playgirl.
remember Bob. He did the overnights, I think, at ABZ when I was there. And he came over as Bud Stone from WNHC, along with Joe DeMeo, who became Stone Man. But Bob was doing mornings, and he was complaining about the fact that what's his name was the centerfold in Playgirl magazine. They brought it out, you know, the actor. I can't remember his name now.
Reynolds. Burt Reynolds? Was it Burt
Burt
Reynolds?
So he's on the air and he's complaining about that. And so after a show, I said to him, okay, I have an idea here that could be fun. Why don't we see if your listeners can petition the station to have you be the centerfold? And he said, you're serious? I said, yes, I'm serious. Of course, we'd have to take nude shots of you and everything. I'll reach out to Playgirl magazine and see if they'd be interested. He said, okay. So I called the magazine, I pitched it. They said, we'd love it as long as there are two things you have to have. One is a really good photo, if you know what I mean. And secondly, you mean, and I said to her, I said, you mean a meat shot? She said, I didn't say that, but you know what I mean. And the second is you have to have a good article so that the whole thing makes sense. And so he went back on the air and he mentioned to his listeners, he says, you know, I really think I should be the one in the magazine. If you think so, let us know. Meantime, I'm writing up the article, and I sent the article to the magazine, and they said, this is really good. Send us some shots. And so I brought in a photographer, and we set up a day where he was going to come out and do his show in the nude for all of maybe 3 minutes, because it was only for the photos. And Bob Herpy put paper up on the door window because he was afraid to death people would know what was going on. And Jason Cutler came in the front door and sat down on the couch. He was one of Cutler's Records. He was one of our sponsors. And the photographer and I were going over, quote, meat shots, unquote, of others in order to get some sort of idea what he wanted to shoot. And all of a sudden, he comes walking out stark naked in the middle of the place saying, I can't wait anymore. I can't wait anymore. And there was like a dozen people out there, and it was the most hysterical moment you'd ever seen. And then we took the shots. We went into Jay Crawford. We went into the studio. Jay was doing midday, and we took all these shots. And he's standing on the console, and he's spread eagling across the mic boom, and he's doing this and he's doing that. And we sent the shots and the article I wrote to the magazine, and they picked a couple of shots and they ran it. We got a subscription rate. I think it was about 6 million. And they did a snipe on the cover. And Bob was absolutely convinced we were losing our license. And I said, this is the best promotion we've ever done.
That's great.
So those are the two I can come up with for early. A little different.
Wonderful story.
Actually, I can show you a promo picture of it if you want to actually see him.
No, too much information.
There's one shot of him walking in wearing a fur coat and carrying my briefcase, and then the rest of him is sort of natural. He's just walking through the door for another day at the office. It's great.
And of course,
WTOP did a promotion back in 1971, I think it was, the Car a Day giveaway. For 1 month, for 30 days, we gave away a car every day. Most of them were junkers, but on the air during the day, we would give out clues as to where the car was parked. And as the day wore on, the clues became easier and easier, so that by the end of the day, we gave the car away. But at the end of the contest, we gave away a really nice car. Last day of the contest, I forget what it was, but it was a very, very nice car. And the clues were, excuse me, the clues were very, very difficult. So nobody was finding this car until towards the end of the day. We finally gave the final clue. And somebody found the car, and wow, okay, great, bang, promotion is over. Only we found out maybe a few weeks later that the guy who won the really nice car was a very good friend of the general manager.
Those things always go wrong. Car giveaways were terrible promotions. They were terrible because, one, most people, and Tony said, most people thought, well, I have no chance to win this, so I don't really care and won't even listen. So, but I used to do business with Crowley. Crowley's a big dealer in Connecticut. Very tough guy to do business with. Ken
Oh, yeah.
Crowley, not a friendly guy, tough guy. But I get a call from his general manager, Tom Modine, who was a good guy, and he says, "Ron, we want to do a car giveaway promotion." And Crowley, I had my trade there, and Crowley spent money. And I said, "Tom, they don't work. People aren't going to come to a car dealer on a Saturday at 12 noon to watch people win a car they won't win." He said, "No, no, no. We really want to do this. I got a car I want to give away, and we really want to do this." They had just started with Kia. They had picked up the Kia line. This goes
Oh,
back
boy.
a ways.
Oh, boy.
And I said, "Well, what kind of car can you give away?" He says, "We want to give away a Kia Rio." I said, "Oh, come on, Tom, a Kia Rio is a piece of shit. I mean, that's the lowest car on their totem pole. Nobody's gonna want it." He said, "We want to do it. We want to do it." So I went back to who was the general manager of Corson, I guess, or well, it was Wayne, who was Wayne Mulligan. I said, "Wayne," he said, "Look, you want to do it? They're a good client. Just do it. We'll give away a car and we'll run promos and all that stuff." So anyway, the day comes on Saturday, and if you remember, the way we would do it is we would give out 50 keys. And one of the keys actually started the car. So it was a Kia Rio. And I told Tom, I said, "Tom, nobody's going to come here and buy a car from you because you're giving away a car on Saturday. It just won't work that way." He says, "Well, I know, you told me that. It's okay." So anyway, day comes, it's a Saturday, people show up, not many. The people who have the key, who won the key on the air, we gave away the keys on the air, they would get a key, and they might bring a friend or a wife or a brother or whatever. Okay. So one guy's talking to a salesman there. Dean comes over to me and says, "You're not going to believe this. We sold the car." I said, "You did?" He said, "Yeah, that guy over there is going to buy a car." I said, "That's fantastic." Well, sure enough, that guy also had a key. And guess what?
Oh,
Oh,
His key started the car. The one guy who was going to buy, I'll never forget that. The one guy who was actually going to buy something won the car. I
Well, I
said,
thought-
"Tom, I told you."
Charlie came up with that, put your hands on a Toyota, get your
Oh,
hands
yeah.
on a Toyota, you'll never
Yeah.
let go. I thought that was I mean,
Oh.
it seemed like that was going to go, it was expected to go for maybe half a day. And I think, Dave, you
Oh,
remember how long?
days.
lasted?
Yeah,
Like
it
3
ran for
days?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, right? People holding
Two-
on to that car. for
Yeah,
2
'cause
weeks, and
nobody
people
would
were
give up
driving
and-
by. Everybody was showing up, looking at that car, Manchester Toyota, I think it was.
Oh, yeah. Lynch
Yep.
Toyota.
Yeah,
It's Toyota, yeah.
Lynch Toyota.
What were the
Manchester, they would
rules? What were
beat
the rules
horns
for
and people would
bathroom?
stop over and we had
10
to
minutes an
do a
hour.
remote.
50
from
minutes an hour. You had to have your hand on the car for
Ah.
50 minutes an hour.
15 minutes an
Okay.
hour. And
We do
and
a
if
whole
they
show
wait-
staring at it.
Yeah.
We
I
do a
know.
whole show looking out the window at the car, and the people were around the car.
Right.
So, I mean, and it was after a while, it got a little boring. You're doing
Well,
a show,
yeah.
and every time you look up, you see people glued to a car, and they
Yeah,
got
but
a
it's just-
5-minute break to hit the latrine.
Right.
You know,
Hour.
But I
There was a
think,
lot of press. Well, we got a lot of press on that.
lot of press.
Yeah, I think that was
Actually,
TV. that-
if you walk into Lynch Toyota today, the last time I went in there, probably just a few years ago, and it's gigantic hanging on the wall in Lynch Toyota, and the whole thing. And I think Corson may have been even in the final shot where they were awarding the car or whatever. But
didn't they have a problem with it? They wanted to do it over and over again
that's
every
the
year.
problem, you know. But
Yeah.
even and Charlie said the same thing. He said, "No, you know, you do something like that, and it's a success like that one time." Because the following year, when everybody knew it was coming, you had the Board of Health in there. You had, you know, the whole thing, and it was terrible because they just
We
had-
actually did that promotion
Twice.
2 years back to
Right.
back.
Yeah.
The second year was the one that was it.
Yep.
And I think 2 people won a car, and there was big controversy
it.
because somebody left a finger. Or I don't know what it was.
Left a
but it was a
I
finger.
thought the
Zoom.
Board of Health. I
No,
thought
I
the
meant,
Board of
you know,
Health
they-
shut it down.
Yeah.
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 Hey,
And
Steve,
I remember years later, Tim Montgomery borrowed it and called it "Kiss the Car."
Oh yeah, and you better
Yeah.
believe, Greg, that was all done. That was all done with Charlie Parker, and that's
Yeah.
because Bob Mitchell, you know, was thought the world of him and picked his brain on how to do that with, and then they kiss the car. Keep your lips on the car.
I
You didn't
remember
do
that.
that in February, did you?
And he didn't get his lips off until April. And I just,
Well-
I have to run, but I have 2 things I'd like to mention. And by the way, this is wonderful. I mean, remembering promotions is the best. I had the worst winner. We were going to talk about who might have been the worst winner.
Yeah,
And also one of the other promotions to kick off PLR, we brought Jerry Lewis and the entire band to the New Haven Green for 5 days. in 1971, and it was Don Imus's very first public appearance after he came into NBC from Cleveland. And then we gave away a check on the telethon. And then I figured I was done with that. And I can tell you the backstory on that, but there's no time. But he decided, he wrote me back and he said, come on, let's do it again. And he came back and we did it a second year on the green. And I think we filled the whole New Haven green. And it was fantastic. And I gave him a check on the second telethon as well. But the worst contest winner. And then there was also the worst contest entrant. And then I have to leave. We gave away a trip to Australia. This was around 73 or so, when vinyl was still big. And the first prize was your choice of any 50 albums and a all expense paid trip to Australia. And we literally flew the person to Australia, paid for their rail pass through Australia, paid for their hotels, paid for their meals and everything. So the guy comes to the station. We have to have him sign all these releases and everything. And by this time, Bob Herpy was ready to have me committed because he thought that all of these promotions were never going to earn us any money. And I was able to sell a sponsorship of virtually everyone. So they cost us a net of zero at the end of the day. And so they promoted. So the winner comes and he signs off on the papers and he says, okay, I can't wait to do it. I said, do me a favor. When you are there, I'm going to give you a phone number. I want you to call us every so often and tell us how things are going. And he said, well, I'd love to do that. That's really great. I appreciate doing that. I said, fine. He said, how about $100? I said, $100 what? He says, you pay me $100 every time I call you. I said, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. I have to say, I said to him, okay, go fuck yourself. I was so angry. I couldn't even see straight, but I couldn't take the trip away. I just couldn't believe that he actually expected that. Long story short, he went on the trip. He made the calls in. We didn't pay him. And it was a fantastic trip for him, but to have that attitude, right? And it was just an unbelievable thing. And last thing, and then I got to go. We did another promotion, and we were giving away a gift an hour. And we always said, entry by mechanical means is not acceptable. So a guy comes in, and we're doing a Friday giveaway. And a guy comes in and he sits down in the lobby. It's about 9:02 in the morning. And he comes in with his big box. He says, I'm going to win the big prize. The big prize, I think, I don't know, was worth about 10 grand or something. And he didn't understand the rules, and it really worked to my advantage. And he said, I'm going to win this. And he sat there, and for hours, he filled out entries because he was going to sandbag the whole thing. Okay. And I said, fine, go ahead. And he filled out the entries. I said, you can't do it by mechanical means. I mean, you're really trying to wire this deal for you. He says, well, there's nothing stopping me in the rules. I said, well, okay. So he did it for about 4 hours. And then we had the first drawing at 3 o'clock for like a $15 prize. And who do you think won? And once you won a prize, you were not eligible to win the $10,000 grand prize. But he got what he paid for.
But I'll tell you, Dick, I think one of your, and I don't know if you want to put it in a category of promotion, but I guess indirectly it was. I mean, the way you guys got, all these reporters all over the mountains just with Ski Watch.
Oh, with Ski Watch.
Great.
Yeah.
And all you had to do is make sure they all had passes for the day, right?
Yeah, the ski areas would give them passes because we promoted it to them as the fact that we were giving them a fully independent report. A lot of them were skittish because, of course, most of the reports that would come out, they did. But we always knew that chances are when you got there, the reports were not anywhere near truthful. But we said to them, if you would allow our skier to report, we'd appreciate it. All we want is a pass. Although people can call us and tell us how the conditions are if they want to, and we'll accept them whether they're our reporter or not, which sent them a message of saying, give them a pass.
Yeah.
But we had probably 100 people across the country that were skiing for us every year, some of which are good friends of mine to this day. And they loved it. And you know what? The ski areas were perfectly happy about it. And it was a legitimate truthful ski report as a result.
And Dick, what was it? I didn't even know that, until talking to John Heslin, I didn't know that you guys,
John Heslin.
you guys actually had you had an airplane.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We had a twin engine Cessna. I can't remember the name of it now. We had for about 6 or 7 years, and we flew to small markets when we had small market promotions, and we were working with agencies. And then Barry used it because he had a house on Nantucket.
And CRN Airlines.
Huh?
CRN Airlines. That's right.
CRN Airlines. Yeah. And Barry was not a good small plane flyer, I want you to know. He turned green within 15 seconds of takeoff. And but we had it for 7 or 8 years. The government gave us a break on it, and then every night we hangared it in New Haven, and they ran it down to Atlantic City 2-3 times a night. It paid for itself. By the end of the time that when we decided to sell it, we'd actually made money after having it for about 8 years, but it was really helpful. And I learned kind of how to fly, but never applied for a license. But those were the old days.
Great stuff.
Anyway, this is great. I wish I could stay, and I'm sorry that I've talked so much, but I wanted to give you some Southern Connecticut promotion.
Well, Dick, you meant, I see I see the Star of David off over one shoulder, but who's on the other side of your other shoulder? The picture.
You mean the picture of the guy?
Yeah.
That is from the American Radio Relay League. Wow. And he was the founder. His name was Percy.
Longfellow.
Anyway, the ARRL is in Newington. It's world renowned among the ham radio community. Connecticut is the center of the ham radio community, and he was the one who founded it. Hiram Percy Maxim, W1AW. That's who that's a picture of.
And you've been on there for years, Dick, right?
Oh yeah, 60. I've been licensed for 64 years.
Amazing.
My call is W1FYI, W1 for your information.
Dick, who's really big into ham radio is Jim Davis.
Jim Davison?
No, Jim Davis. He was
Jim.
Big Jim Davis.
He was on this Zoom with us a number of months ago.
Oh yeah.
And he dominated. Remember that, Steve?
Yep.
He was Big Jim Edwards. He's worked at all the major markets.
I talk to DJs all around the country, even today. But I've spoken to the King of Jordan, the King of Spain, and what's his name from the Eagles?
Joe Walsh.
Joe Walsh.
Yeah, Joe Walsh put up in his bus in Newington to went inside to see Nirvana. Yeah.
Yep, he has radio. Anyway, this has been wonderful. I wish I didn't talk so much, but I would love to. I'm going to watch the video for sure. And great to see Ron. Great to see Greg. Great to see you all. Thank you for your patience.
Thanks, Dick.
Thank you, Dick.
All right, take care.
Take care.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
I want to talk about impromptu promotions. One promotion we had was the Feed a Friend Foodathon that first time we held it at West Farms Mall. And how that came about was I think
Brad Davis.
Yeah. Well, actually it wasn't Brad Davis.
Oh, Brad was at Channel 3.
He was at Channel 3.
Yeah.
In fact, that's how Brad got into DRC was because of that
that's
food-a-thon.
right.
Yep.
Selling his can of tuna fish. But anyways, we were talking about it and we came up with the idea for a bunch of people were in Charlie's office and he said, well, we need something, imagine giving somebody canned goods of foods and somebody made a comment about a bank. And I started saying, I says, can I deposit 3 cans of beans and whatever? And your father's sitting in the corner, had that perplexed look thinking in the air. And he said, that's a great idea, guys. And he said, what? He says, I have a food bank. People come in and donate food and then we give the food out later on. So how are we going to do it? Well, let's see if we can get a remote together. So Wayne, who was chief engineer at DRC at the time, was able to get phone lines into West Farms Mall. And I remember it was in February. It was 74, I think, somewhere.
I think it was around there because, I remember that part of it. It wasn't when Brad was there. because
No,
I
Brad
wasn't
was
there
not
when I
there.
was moved
No.
around in '74, I think.
Yeah, and
It's when
in
we were
fact,
there,
70
Bob.
it
You
was
and I were both
74
there at the same time.
74 going into early 75. I think it was
Yeah.
February.
Yeah, well, it's February, yeah,
February,
and then your dad decided to include other radio stations involved, so it made it a full, all radio, because I think one other station was promoting it, and we said, they're stealing our promotion, and your father went, no, it's everybody's promotion, so he invited other radio stations in, and I remember it being a very warm weekend. Temperatures were like in the upper 60s. People and motorcycles came out, and everybody just had that thing of giving. And I remember your dad telling me, he says, we'll be lucky if we get 20,000 canned good items and maybe $1,000 or $5,000. Well, we wound up getting 72,000 canned good items, raised over $10,000, and it was a huge success. And we decided, let's do it in the fall. So father got it together. This time we had everything planned. Nobody showed up. I think we made 20,000 canned good items, and I don't know how much money we raised. And I said to your father, I said, what happened? He goes, bad timing. People are out there attending Saturday football games. They're out there raking the leaves in their yard. They could have cared less. So then I suggested to him, I said, great time. It's Christmas time because everybody's in the feeling of giving. And he goes, he says, yeah. So that's when we held one at the Silver Lane Shopping Center, and we held it at Christmas. And there's a whole story behind that. When I have time, I'll tell you. Wound up with a broken nose out of that old ordeal.
Dave, I think even before that, when the idea first came up, we had remember the softball game between WTIC and WDRC, where the DRC guys against TIC. And it was an exhibition game at night in Manchester, and you brought a can of food, was your admission to get into the game. And that was the early beginnings of the food bank. That's when the idea came up where, well, people brought more than one can. The kids brought cans. Everybody had a can of food. So we collected more food that night. You had to have someplace to put it. And Charlie said, well, do the food bank. And then it expanded to that West Farms Mall thing. I remember Otis hollering out to motorcycle guys coming by at night.
Oh yeah,
give me money, give me money. He was reaching out the window and getting money from these motorcycle guys, and it was a really cool promotion, and of course it created the Connecticut Food Bank, which still on, right? I guess.
Yeah, they now it's Connecticut Food Share, and the interesting thing is the way that took off and everybody picked up on it, like pretty much like get your hands on a Toyota did. People grab it, Toyota dealers grab it. But, excuse me, as the years rolled on, and my dad fell into some health issues and everything else, he would talk about people that he would see that were so well off and everything else, and I'd say, you don't really have to think about that. You think about how many people are eating food, because he would say, it wasn't about. He says a food bank, simple idea. I can do them all day long. He says, however, but it's the soldiers that roll up their sleeves and get it done. And he said it was also knowing how to ask people. And that's why it really, he always said that was the success of it. And he never put his name on it. He didn't put a copyright on it. I mean, as much as Jerry Christopher was a good friend, it became Jerry Christopher's Caravan of Carriages or something.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
He never was caught up in that. And so many different ideas, took off like that, but that wasn't his big thing, was to hang his name on things. And
well, that's how Harry Chapin got involved.
Oh, Harry went
I was just about to mention that. Harry Chapin.
Yep.
Yeah,
Harry went nuts, and Harry came. Remember when he came into town and did the Christmas Carol sing at the Constitution Plaza?
And it was delivered in a taxi cab.
Yeah.
And from the airport. And that was an interesting evening.
Hey, listen, guys, I happened to be thinking of a promotion you were mentioning about cans of food. Dave, you may want to edit this out because I'm kind of sketchy on the details, and I was thinking about it. Do you remember when we had the Sing the Campbell Soup jingle? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Wow.
This is maybe 73, 74, and Campbell's had a promotion with us. And the idea was to get people to come into the mobile studio, as I remember broadcasting in front of G Fox, across the street from G Fox. And in doing my program, and I think I was the only one doing it in the midday. They bought time in the midday for people to stop by the mobile studio and actually walk right in there and sing the Campbell Soup jingle as we played it on the air. So this is maybe about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. And Dave, you may even have this on your reel-to-reel tape of bloopers and stuff that we did, because I know I do, but I can't remember the guy's name. Anyhow, this guy popped into the studio, and his name was, let's just say for sake of argument, Joe Zilch, okay? And I put him on the air to sing the Campbell Soup jingle. And he was kind of like somebody who doesn't really know what he was going to do. So he wound up singing the jingle. And, you know, they sang terribly to begin with, but that wasn't the idea, to get somebody professionally to sing. It was just to sing the jingle, and I think you gave them a case of soup or whatever. I don't remember what the price was. Anyhow, it was a good, fun promotion. It really had no great value to it, but to the listeners, it was fun. So I'm listening to my blooper tape, DRC, maybe a couple of years ago, year and a half ago. And I ran across that tape of the guy singing the jingle. And about 6 months later, I'm reading a story in the New York Times about some guy who was either picked up on a morals charge or he was convicted of something after so many years in Hartford. And I'm saying, but the name sounds familiar. Joe Zilch. I said, shit, let me go back and listen to the tape. Sure enough, it was that guy. Same guy, the same name. And because I knew the guy was a little bit, you know, strange to put it mildly. So that was just kind of a very, very unusual. You just never knew who was going to show up. And it was really a fun promotion.
You remember how
was that?
You remember how the Campbell Soup jingle went?
Yes, as a matter of fact, the person who sang that jingle was a terrific jingle singer in New York. Her name was Marlene Verplank. And I actually had her on my show here in Philly because she was living up in North Jersey. She was a really, really good singer and did loads of jingles. I think she did the Winston Tastes Good jingle. Just loads. She made a lot of money doing this stuff. So she had that kind of universal voice. I also recorded a number of jazzy flavored vocal albums. So we talked about that on the air, the Campbell Soup jingle. That was my most popular one. She passed away about 4 or 5 years ago. She was in her 90s at this point. But it was good, good. That's what Campbell Soups are. Good. And people still remember that today.
Sure.
Like when jingles had actual melodies. I mean, you could remember.
That one is so memorable. So memorable.
Oh, yeah. You know, when they had these jingles that they sing now, they get these maybe 4 or 5 people. They would get like 4 people like us behind a computer or something and just rattle off 4 or 5 words you can't understand, and that would be a jingle. You're supposed to remember that, but not like those days when they were written by people who could write music.
Well,
I like the Armour hot dog jingle.
Oh,
hot dog, Armour hot dogs. What kind of kidding?
Yeah,
and I'd love to be an Oscar Mayer wiener.
Yeah. And, one of the promotions we did at Christmas time. Christmas was always good for good promotions, and your father came in and gave me a song. He said, "I want you to sing this," and it was time to sing a Christmas carol, fa la 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 la, called Big D, and then he said, "Yes, sing it." You know, time to sing a Christmas carol, fa la 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 la, like old Big D. He says, "Good." He says, "Now let's get everybody around the station to sing it, and we'll put a promotion together." And we did, and people would have to call in, and they would have to sing the jingle over the air, and that was a fun promotion. And every time I hear "Deck the Halls with Balls of Holly," all I hear is "Sa la la la, call Big D." You know, it's one of those promotions.
Have you noticed that a lot of the commercials nowadays, they think that if they take a song that's familiar to people and put cowbells or sleigh bells behind it, that all of a sudden it's a holiday song?
Right,
I mean,
right,
there's a Honda commercial right now. If you listen to it, it's the beginning actually of Denise by was it Randy
and the Rainbows?
Yeah. You know how it starts? Ooh, listen for it. It's the Honda TV commercial. They take the intro, that harmony, and they loop it and put, sleigh bells behind it. And some guy in Madison Avenue says, "Well, we got Christmas covered."
Yeah.
That's
Sampling.
but that's
All
they
about
don't
sampling.
they don't do any more like real Christmas songs.
Well, we got to bring Tracy into this. So Tracy, what's the legal ramifications on some of these things? Uh-oh.
He stepped away.
He's
No
gone.
wonder we did all this jingle stuff and there's no Tracy.
No,
I don't know, Randy and the Rainbows are still around.
we had a promotion on WPEN here in Philly, which really drove us crazy, people who were on the air. And it was anytime you hear the jingle bells all in and you could win whatever it was. And as you probably know, at this time of the year, when you have commercials on the air, probably, I don't know, half of them have have sleigh bells underneath them. So when you hear the jingle bells, call in. That would be separate. So anytime there would be a commercial that would come on that would have jingle bells underneath it, the phone would light up. No, it's not that. Well, you said whenever we hear the sleigh bells, and we had to put up with so much shit from listeners.
And
We're
Bob,
so irate about it.
And Bob, I could imagine you being so diplomatic.
Yes.
Not now.
No, you dope.
Maybe
Around the
you should
time
have
that you were
changed it
doing
from
that
jingle
Campbell
bells to
soup
bah
jingle.
humbugs.
Bob, around the time they did the Campbell soup, you DRC guys had another promotion. It wasn't singing, but the listeners would call in and they had to say the phrase, "I switched to Schweppes."
Oh,
And there was a second part of that. I can't remember what the second part was.
Yeah.
Vaguely, I remember that vaguely. But
Can only
was that around the time you were doing The Man from Mars?
It would have been in that same general couple of early 70s. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Think
Schweppes had a
about,
big
think about
buy
what
on
you're
the
talking
station.
about. You think about Schweppes and Mars and Campbell's. That's what made DRC and Charlie so great, because these are major national advertisers. It wasn't the local
Mhm.
corner, dress store. Campbell's, Mars, these are big things. And I remember we did a 7-Up promotion. I forget the details of it, but I went to your father, Steve, and I said, I need something for 7-Up. And he came up with some great promotion. This had to go back into the early 80s, I guess. I forget when it was. And you'd go back to your national rep and you said, I got a promotion for you. And they'd run it by the advertising agency on Madison Avenue. They were blown away. Like, how can Hartford, Connecticut come up with something, and we're a $1 billion agency on Madison Avenue? We can't come up with this stuff. What's going on? Some of them get pissed off because this is great stuff.
well, the secret was always we never had a budget. And without a budget, believe it or not, you can always beat them with creative. And that was his whole thing. Okay, so like I mentioned before, $96,000. Well, nobody's going to win that, but 500 pairs of $9.99 chinos blow up the phones. I mean, that was the whole thing, was creativity. I mean, Ron, you must remember, what was it, Howard's Piccadilly Relish or something?
That's right. That's
gotta give
exactly
away-
right. I remember that one.
Got to give away relish on the air, and he made it fun.
Charlie suggested cash call. I think it was his idea, but Corson wouldn't let him do it. It was too expensive. So he figured, well, we'll call it prize call. And he went to the prize closet. Do you remember that, Bob?
I remember.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
doing the promos for it.
Yep.
And then later on, they changed it to Prize Patrol. That was I think, a couple years later. But yeah, Prize Call was.
Remember the McDonald's bumper sticker promotion, Steve? Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
We had McDonald's was a big client, and we wanted to do Charlie wanted to do a bumper sticker promotion. But we needed a sponsor. How are we going to pay for, Corson wouldn't say, well, how much? No, I'm not doing that. You want to do it, go find somebody to pay for it. And we went to McDonald's, and McDonald's was all on board. Within 2 weeks, you couldn't drive in the city of Hartford, anywhere around it, without seeing a DRC bumper sticker. It was the most amazing thing. That's the power of that radio station back then.
I should mention that with the cash call, some people who are listening who may not realize this, but Charlie, when I say Charlie invented the cash call concept, they had a sister station in New York, right? At the time, it was
NEW, wasn't it?
NEW, right? And they were looking for a contest, and I guess Charlie, in a meeting, just threw it out there like a cash call, and he explained it, and I guess they took it and ran with it. So it was big in New York. So when I say that Charlie in Hartford was the guy who invented the idea. From what I understand, that's the story
Probably
I got.
right.
Yeah,
I'm
Well,
sure
it's
you're
another one
right.
of those big national sponsor promotions that DRC did. Was one of Jim's favorites because it allowed him to have his picture in the newspaper wearing his
Oh, no,
Coca-Cola pants.
please,
Or the
please.
Coca-Cola pants.
That's
His
when I could fit
bell-bottoms.
into them.
I still have those.
I wear them to church every week. Are you kidding me?
What church is that?
I go up there. I'm a lector. I get up there and I have my Coke pants. Holy
I
smoke!
remember when they
You
did,
guys got
to
less
make
than, we got about a minute left.
to make it
when they
worse,
did,
guys,
they
those
did-
Coke pants were, I swear they were like elephant bottom pants. I mean, they were baggy. You remember
They were
the
bell bottoms.
you remember the picture we had as a group, Bob?
Yeah.
Yes, I
those-
have one here. I have
It was embarrassing. I had to. My kids said, "Dad, is that you?" No, I don't know who the hell that is. You know.
Hey, guys, now that I'm back at a better thing, the answer to the first question, I'm in the mountains of New Mexico between Santa Fe and Albuquerque.
Oh, cool.
wow.
And we've had snow the last couple of days, and we have acreage and horses and a million dogs and all kinds of stuff. So that answers one question. And the genius of Charlie Parker is all about that food bank. If you think about it, when he said all the stations get involved, and that encapsulates all the greatness that was Charlie. And I was always sad I never got to work for him, but I did get to know him. So that was cool. And to Bob, I'll wave at you on Tuesday as I'm on final into Philadelphia International.
Oh, well, you're from Philly originally, right?
Yeah.
Well-
I was born in Northeast Philly and grew up listening to Wibbage and then WFIL, and then grew up just across the Walt Whitman Bridge in South Jersey.
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
and worked and had the opportunity to work twice in Philly, once at Wibbage, kind of short-lived. And right after that, I found myself at POP. And then I came back after POP and was at Wi-Fi. I was on the air on July 4th, 1976, which
you know,
was
all those guys
a
are
really cool
gone.
day.
Those guys
Oh,
are
yeah.
all gone that you grew up listening with. Blabbit is gone, Niagara is gone, Highlit, all those
Yeah.
people. Yeah, I got to know them quite well because a number of them worked with us on the combination
Yeah.
of Magic and WPEM. And boy, the stories they could tell. Whoa, man.
Well,
Oh,
TJ,
man.
TJ, I can assure you that Charlie was very aware of you, and your name came up quite often at the house, TJ. So,
Oh, wow.
I think
I hope in a good way, because
well,
I was
that's
up
why I
against.
kind of like, we knew that you were a powerhouse over there, and of course, growing up a half a mile away from the station too. But yeah, it was wild.
Well, I was kind of blessed, Steve, in that I got to do the high school promotion when I first got there, and it was a group out of Philly that did it, and we would do high school assemblies, and we would present the history of rock and roll, and then that night we would dedicate an hour to that high school. So I was kind of blessed with that. I wasn't the greatest jock, but I sure had a lot of great people around me and a great promotion. So.
That's what it was always about. And I think, and I'll let you guys go with this. Like, that was his whole thing. He would always say, he'd always tell the jocks, even from what I understand, don't get caught up in ratings. Don't get caught, whether it was Arbitron or Pulse or Hoop or any of those. He goes, don't get caught up in it. If people came to the frequency tomorrow and we weren't there, would anyone miss us? And that was his whole thing. He had we lived and died by all the books. But I'll tell you, he would always tell the guys, concentrate on what you're doing at that moment, and be, if you have something funny, take a shot at it or just implement it. But don't try to be funny constantly every day, and just be a friend when it was time. And that's pretty much what we still do here. So, and all right, well,
I had a great lesson from the great George Gilbert, who was he was on Wibbage when I was growing up, and then he was my program director at Warm. And he always said, the Tonight Show has about 20 writers. You ain't that good. So be careful what you do. So,
and I think, and again, TJ, thank you very much. Remind everyone of who they can make donations to. I love the fact you sent that along.
Yeah, and by the way, some of you will be added, and if you want to opt out, you can. But the Broadcasters Foundation of America, on Giving Tuesday, I did a donation in memory of Jim Thompson, who was my great mentor and previous president of not only Group W but others, and the Broadcasters Foundation of America, and it'll hit home to, and it could hit home to any of us at any time. If you're in trouble, if you're having medical issues, if you're having financial issues, if any of that, they'll pay your bills every month. until you're back on your feet, or they'll help you with your medical bills until you're back on your feet and get going. And unbelievable names that they've helped that we would never dream in our wildest dreams that they would need help because they were such iconic people in radio. But they do that. And it's the Broadcasters Foundation of America. You're probably going to get a newsletter or something. I don't know how you got it back out to them, Steve, but and every little bit helps. Whether it's $10 or $1,000, it doesn't matter. And we all pray that we never have to apply for the help, but many in our industry have.
And that's what it comes back to, knowing how to ask people. And thank you, TJ, for that. I think it's
You're welcome.
All right. Well, I'm getting the sign from Dave Overson, so I moved them off of my screen. So I better get out of here. But thank you so much, guys. This is the best. And I think when Pete Salant kind of summed things up and mentioning, I think how this is the best therapy in the world, and hopefully can keep all of us sharp enough to stay away from wandering the way we do the rest of the week. And he said it staves off some of the Alzheimer's and all of that. And who would have thought it was therapy? But it's
going to keep us sharp. It's been research proven that this kind of thing, getting together with old friends.
Sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Hey Pete, I'm going to next week. I'm also doing a lunch in New York with some guys, and one of the guys joining us is our friend Walter Sabo.
Oh wow! I just had I had lunch with Walter on the Outer Banks probably a month ago. So yep,
saw that.
All right, guys. Yeah. Thanks a lot. We'll be looking for you for next
Well,
Friday.
yeah, Steve, thank you.
8th.
Thanks, Steve.
God
Thanks,
bless you.
guys.
Thanks.
God bless.
Have a good week, everybody.
Good night, John Boy.
Your friend has got a lot to share.